So thank you for joining us, and we have a couple of board members who've joined us, Rafael Jacobo, and I know that I saw Jennifer. There she is, Jennifer Borcherding. And so we're going to just try to keep this somewhat informal. I have cabinet members with us today, certainly also Superintendent Brad Buck, and we thought we'd spark conversation by providing you with a little bit of information about several initiatives and themes, and then open it up for questions from you all. And you have QR codes in front of you. I didn't know this until like a week ago, but you can open up your phone, the camera function of your phone, and just hover over a QR code. You don't even need a QR reader anymore. I did not know this. This is true of iPhones anyway. So you can hover over the QR code, and then it automatically takes you to the website. If you don't have an iPhone, Pat will raise her hand, can certainly help you. We'd just love to know who's joined us, and then if you'd like to hear more from us, that's an opportunity for us to communicate with you as well. So thank you for joining us, and we'll have Dr. Brad Buck introduce himself, and then we'll go along the line.
Okay. Hey, good morning. Thanks, Aqui. Brad Buck, Superintendent of Schools here in Cedar Rapids. So I get to do a little vision casting this morning, which I'm always excited to do. So our vision is every learner future ready, and if you're familiar at all with Cedar Rapids schools, you would know that there are a number of amazing things that happen in our schools every day. So we have robust AP programming, we're adding dual credit, college type credit programming for our students, internships. Actually, one of our high schools went from almost no internships to leading the 7-county area in internships provided to our students over the course of about 2 years. So part of we're transitioning to a new mission as well, and that new mission is a focus on passion for our kids, multiple pathways for their success and multiple pathways beyond graduation, and a plan once they have that high school diploma to move forward. So I was given 5 minutes this morning, and for those that know me, we probably all should have started a timer, because it may go longer than that, but I'll try to keep it short, I promise. So in amongst all the great things, over 100 activities and clubs for our kids. As a dad of students in the district, my kids are enjoying participating in show choir and athletics and all that good stuff. The other thing we need to acknowledge is we are not meeting the needs of every learner. So when you talk about every learner future ready, we're in a spot, much like most educational institutions in the state and across the nation, that there are subgroups of students for whom the system is not working as well as it needs to be. And that would be students who are racially and ethnically diverse, students who are in poverty as defined by the federal poverty-free and reduced lunch rate, students for whom English is not their first language, and students on individualized education plans, often called special education. So the other thing to give you some context for that, about a third of our students are racially and ethnically diverse. About half of our students are on free and reduced lunch, and 100% of our students are awesome. So what we are working on is how do we make sure that we're meeting the learning needs of all of our kids and providing a personalized pathway in order for them to do that. We have a number of strategic initiatives underway, and if I start down that path, I'm going to take about 40 minutes. So with that, just know we are taking specific strategic steps to deliver on this promise for kids. And with that, I'll maybe in the QA, some of that will come up. So.
Yeah, and let's hear from Noreen.
Good morning. My name is Noreen Bush. I'm Deputy Superintendent, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about one of those initiatives on our strategic plan, which is called the Profile of a Graduate. And so I'm sure that can all of you remember your own K-12 experience? Give me a thumbs up if you remember your own K-12 experience. I imagine that my K-12 experience, I'm a proud graduate of Cedar Rapids Community School District, and I think that my experience might have been similar to your experiences. So if you think about high school and the way it was organized, it's really organized in a very similar way now. We have content courses, we have periods of the day, and students go through that experience in order to be prepared for their future. What we're finding is that click back 50 years ago, we really lived in an or environment, and by that I mean students were preparing for college or work. And when they graduated from high school with the diploma, they had many options to be successful in the working world. My mom worked at Rockwell Collins on the line, and she would have been very prepared. Although she had a college degree, it would have been very acceptable for her to have that position with a high school diploma, and she would have gotten the training that she needed at Rockwell for that environment. If you're familiar at all with Future Ready Iowa or any of the national contexts, what we're finding is that our workforce has different needs than it did 50 years ago. And so we are looking at what those needs are and how that affects K-12, and that in addition to the context that Dr. Buck highlighted, we also are finding that we need to do things differently to serve every single child. So when you think about content mastery, if you go back again to that question I asked you, if you remember your own high school experience, your transcript listed probably English in a grade, and math in a grade, and science in a grade. And what the workforce is telling us is that they're looking for more than a transcript. They really want to know what are the skill sets that each person has and that they can bring to the table in the workforce. So Iowa is giving us feedback that people are lacking some essential communication skills, creativity skills, collaboration skills, that basic teamwork of how to solve problems together with others. So what we've done is taken some national research. There's a national researcher, his name's Tony Wagner, and I love to quote him. He said, "People no longer care what you know, they care what you can do with what you know." And so we are looking for, instead of an or environment, an and environment, that our kids are college and career ready. So the profile of a graduate, which is accessible on our website, and we would be glad to give you more information about that after this conversation or through the Q&A, develops 5 essential competencies that are not just about what we need in K-12, but it's really what we need in our community in Cedar Rapids, in the state context of Iowa, and in the national context. So there's 5 C's, and those C's are, the first and foremost is communication, effective communication. Secondly, critical thinking and problem solving. Thirdly, creativity, and that our kids are having experiences, and creativity not just from an artistic point of view, but creativity in that they are thinking innovatively about how to solve problems. We also have citizenship, and that was a huge factor. We had a community group that included people from the workforce, people from our parent group, and students, as well as faculty and administrators who helped develop this profile. Citizenship was essential for that team, and they wanted that pronounced to make sure that our kids know what it means to be a citizen in the Cedar Rapids community, and that we're delivering on that promise when kids leave us, that they're prepared for our community. And then finally, the one that I missed, I think, was collaboration. So those major 5 C's, we're developing rubrics at the elementary, middle school, high school level to say, how do we identify those experiences? For a long time, and as Dr. Buck noted, we have unbelievable co-curricular, extracurricular activities. These things are very pronounced in those environments, but how do we create that and environment within the classroom every single day, and that kids are using those skills along with content mastery. So it's college and career ready, and that's our hope for the profile of a graduate.
And we received some exciting news at the beginning of the school year, the 21 by 21. Can you talk to them a little bit about that?
So this is not just a Cedar Rapids thing. This is actually a national conversation. We're the first, now I am not competitive, maybe a little bit, but we are the first school district in Iowa to develop a profile of a graduate and to be part of a group called the 20 by 21. So 20%, the vision is 20% of districts in our nation will have a profile of a graduate by the year 2021. We were the first Iowa district stamp of approval to be part of that collaborative group. You could actually Google search portrait of a graduate or profile of a graduate, and you could see other districts that are involved across the nation in this work. And then I'll say Van Meter is right behind us over in central Iowa. They now have a profile of a graduate as well. So we look forward to these continued collaborative conversations across districts and with our community. What can we do to better prepare our kids for all of our community?
So I'm Val Dozal, and I'm the executive director, and I work mainly with pre-K through 5th grade, so our elementaries, our preschools. And we've talked a lot about all the initiatives that are happening, and obviously Profile of a Graduate is an important piece, but if we're really going to deliver on the promise of every student future ready, then we need to make sure that they also can read. And so in elementary, we've really been focusing on reading. It's been obviously a focus for years, but if you look at data, and Dr. Buck talked about our data is very uneven, if you look at our data, Iowa assessment data has been pretty flat. Those subgroups are not doing well. We also look at, we were required in 2014-2015 to do what they call a screener at the state level. It's called FAST, which stands for Formative Assessment System for Teachers. And with that screener, we're able to identify students that have potential to struggle in reading. And we screen both in the fall, winter, and spring. Our screening results a year ago did not look positive. In fact, it was looking like the longer we had our kids, the worse our kids were getting. And so that was unfortunate. And so we had to become very urgent about the instruction we were going to be doing. So as an elementary group, this includes our principals, our teachers, all of the staff that are in our elementary buildings, we really started focusing on what can we do. I'm going to back up a little bit because there's some things we can't affect. We know that our kids walk through our doors in kindergarten, a third of them not having pre-learning experiences, a preschool or other learning opportunities, possibly maybe didn't have a lot of opportunities even to interact with books. And those are things that help kids become early readers. They're able to work with sounds and do rhyming and those kinds of things. We can't affect that. So what do we do when we have kids, a third of them, walking through our doors just a few weeks ago that don't have some of these skills? Well, the screener helps us identify who's going to struggle, and then from there, we had to really help our teachers last year. Let's dig into what is the specific skill each student needs. We really identified with our teachers some diagnostic assessments that we could do to identify what's the specific skill. Is it something that they don't have as far as identifying sounds that they can put together and blend and make words? Is it something that they don't understand when it even becomes, how do I put sounds together that will even make sense and play around with sounds? And what we found through our diagnostic is that not only in kindergarten were we struggling, but we had kids in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade that were still struggling with those same skills. So you can imagine, as a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teacher, we really had to think about what's our instruction look like. If we really are going to have them work on developing how a sound and a symbol goes together to make a word, that means different instruction as a 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade teacher. So professional learning became a big piece of the work we did last year. We gave our teachers some tools and some strategies that they could implement within their classroom for all kids, but also for those kids that were struggling, because we know our core curriculum will meet about 80% of our kids, but we've got another 15 to 20% that probably need more. And for us in Cedar Rapids, it's not even 80%. We have kids that are coming to us still struggling, that are moving in from different countries that really need a lot of support, and so we're trying to give them as much instruction as we can. So core is the important piece, but then they need plus more. They also need to have interventions that are appropriate to their needs, and that's where that diagnostic piece came in. So professional learning was an important piece. The other piece that we really focused on is helping to support our teachers to have those collaborative conversations around the data. What is it that our kids need so that we can have good instruction happening and that our kids are learning, and how do we know they're learning? What's that formative assessment piece that's going to give us that information? And then finally, coaching is an important piece. How are we helping our teachers know that they're doing a great job with instruction, or maybe need a tweak or two to help them move forward with some of the skills that kids need? What does it look like in the classroom? How do we help support that? So I started with that we use a formative assessment tool, a screening tool called FAST, and I wanted to kind of share at the end here. So in a year, we did a lot of work. The great thing is we did have some great growth. We had over 9% growth from our fall to spring last year. Yay, wonderful, but certainly not where we want to be. We're certainly not at 80% of our kids proficient. We still have a lot of work to do, and we're hoping for an even greater increase this year. So reading is important in Cedar Rapids, and we want to make sure every student is going to be future ready.
All right, so, and then our final kind of topic for today is to update you on the district's commitment to safety and security. So Captain Essling has joined us this morning as well from Cedar Rapids Police Department, and his team has been an integral part for such a long period of time about creating safety and security of our children. First and foremost, we want every child and every adult who works within our system to feel safe. But this is not just about a school safety plan, it's really a community plan. And the feedback we were getting from from not just our internal stakeholders, but external stakeholders is, of course, our awareness has been heightened around school events and school violence across our nation. And we want to make sure that we've not only secured our current plan, but what can we do that could be even better? And research changes every day around this topic and how, not just how schools could be safe, but even this community center and how it's safe. So we got a task force together last spring, which included our police departments, both Hiawatha and Cedar Rapids, that represent the Cedar Rapids Community School District. Our administrators, teachers, high school students were part of this task force, and many community members. And the task force just got our minds around this, read some research, collaborated with some other districts and what they're doing, and then came forward a couple months later with 5 major commitment areas. Some of these are general recommendations for the district, certainly learning for students and what we can do to increase their awareness, as well as our staff and their awareness. We had a keen focus on drills and what that might look like to make sure that we are preparing our students about how to assess their environments and our teachers. And then finally, making sure that we communicate with our families and our community about what the commitment is. So I'm going to hand it over to Captain Essling just on highlighting some of the things that his team helped lead, but also the takeaways and how the police department's continuing to partner with us on this commitment.
Hey, good morning. Like Noreen said, my name's Cody Essling. I've been with the police department for 20 years, and I currently supervise a community services division within our department. Within that division, I get the pleasure to be more involved and work more closely with the school district and with other community partners. And also, one key component within my area of supervision is the school resource officer program. And I think that that's kind of the ground level safety aspect of our partnership with the schools. We have built that program over the years, and we currently have school resource officers in all of the high schools, and just added Metro High School this year, and we also have 2 middle schools, so McKinley and Roosevelt. And that partnership has been a pretty amazing thing, and has grown and has the potential to grow in the future. But we enjoy the partnership we have with the school district. I am welcome to participate in whatever they ask me to be part of, because it's important, and the kids' safety is important, and our involvement in that is important. As Noreen said, the program has been in place with the school district for many years, and part of this task force and part of our involvement now has been to try to enhance, improve, and push it maybe to the next level, and add some different levels to that program that's already been in place. So I'm excited about the future of how this progress that we've made, and it continues to evolve. Things change in that environment. Things change in safety as far as active threat intervention and police involvement, and the involvement of the community and folks. So it's an exciting opportunity. I'm happy to be here, and I can answer any questions that anybody might have. So.
One recent event, actually just this past week, one of the recommendations, the general recommendations from the task force, is to really have a champion within our district to really help spearhead our safety and security plans. We have a really robust crisis plan for whether it be for fire, tornado, natural events like our flood, which we of course have responded to as a community, but also an active threat within a building and how might we respond. So Laurel Day, who couldn't be here today, has really been an integral part in partnering with our community members like Lynn County Emergency Management, CRPD, and as well as helping leading these efforts within how to orchestrate this within each one of our schools through drills and practices. But we decided through the recommendation of the task force to commit to someone with perhaps a background in security or police work to help champion this work for our district, to keep our kids safe and to collaborate around this work together. So we're excited to say that we've gone through an interview process and we'll be moving forward with a recommendation really soon here with a person to help our district with kids at the center of that work and keeping our kids and our staff safe every day.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. So we've heard from Dr. Brad Buck about the vision and mission. We're in the second year of this new vision and mission. We've heard from Val Dolezal about PK through 5 reading initiatives. We've heard from Noreen about the profile of a graduate, 21 by 21, as well as Noreen and Captain Essling regarding safety and security. So those are sort of our 4 themes that we wanted to at least share with you to spark conversation. But so you could ask questions about any of those topics. If there are other questions that you have unrelated to those topics, we're happy to take them as well. So who wants to start us off with some questions for our team? Don't let the microphone intimidate you. I don't want to hold this microphone all morning. Okay.
Oh, really? Wow. I'm familiar with one of your school resource officers at Polk, and just amazing what your resource officers do. Just if that's one point, and the rest of them are like that, wow. So very nice job.
What's really neat about that program is the officers get to interact with students in a different way every day, and they get to learn about their students and learn about their families. They become part of that school, and they often get information before many other people do in terms of teachers, staff, and they have relationships that they wouldn't have any other way. So it's a pretty neat thing. Thanks for saying that.
Hi, my name is Slayton Thompson. I especially appreciate the comments about infusing the concept of living in the community and social skills. I understand the concept of your mother working on the assembly line with a college degree, as well as she could have done the same thing with a high school diploma. So I'm really happy to hear that coming from Rockville, Illinois, where the school district was taken over by the government. And I remember telling Dr. Misak and Superintendent Craig Curry the horrific relationships we had with our superintendent. They ran him out of town in Rockford because of his concept that today was really unheard of then, but he was ahead of his time, Dr. Thomas Shaheen. And I was a high school student. And I formed an inner city student council, not bragging, but because we couldn't be on the council, so I took all the students they called remedial and formed our own. That dissolved in 1975. It was formed in 1966. So I'm really appreciative that we've come this far. The other point is, however, I would like to see professional learning communities be able to instruct. It's okay to have the concept, but if you can't deliver it where the students understand, it's just a concept. I hope that, I know you can work on that, but I believe that, high potency, close proximity, clear communication, maximum impact. HP equals CP equals CC equals MI. I think that's important. And I think the superintendent's comments of inclusion and working is wonderful. Because if you don't, you recycle. You leave Cedar Rapids 40 years from now and you come back, it's the same Nothing's changed. The buildings may be new, but the delivery is still the same, while technology around the world is increasing. So I hope that in final that the teachers are given the love and the support that they can deliver, putting the right person in the right spot. Having a head knowledge is great, but if you can't teach me, I can't learn.
There's this great woman, and she's passed since one of my favorite TED Talks. Her name's Rita Pearson, and she says, kids don't learn from people they don't like. And so that is so important that our teachers are supported. And I'll tell you, we have the best teachers, and they love, love, love our kids. But I think your point is really well taken. What gets measured is what gets done. And if we are not committed to reporting on these competencies of creativity and collaboration and communication, et cetera, then it becomes kind of something in the backdrop, and we're going to need community help to make it more of a front burner. And that we do have means that this becomes part of the conversation, and that kids are owning it, and they can tell you how they're a good communicator and how they collaborate with others. So we do need to develop supports through professional learning communities for our teachers, so that it's not one more thing, but it's the thing, and that they have support to do it.
You want to talk about the reinvestment in PLCs, and I'll talk a little bit about
Sure. In the professional learning community piece, we, for years, I would say almost a decade now, we've invested in our teachers going to what was called professional learning community institutes, and those are hosted usually by one of our neighboring metro areas, whether it be Twin Cities, St. Louis, Chicago, maybe Omaha. And our teachers in the summer would go in small groups to those experiences and come back and then try to scale it. But what we have found is it's been some uneven implementation based on those who had the experience and maybe some who did not. So what we've done is a reinvestment, and instead of sending people in the summer to that experience, we're bringing the experts in the experience to us on October 8th and 9th. This year we're calling it a PLC reboot. And so our local comprehensive high schools, Wash, Kennedy, and Jefferson, are going to host our own conference for 400 plus teachers at each of those centers, and then to learn with the experts. And so there'll be some breakout sessions as well as a keynote around what does it mean to collaborate and create a culture of ownership, collective ownership of our children, and also a focus on assessment. And then the following day, they're going to get deeper into their small groups and their own PLCs. Val highlighted our reading work at each grade level, and I imagine that will be the targeted conversation at our elementaries on that second day. So we're excited for that PLC reboot.
Yeah, one other thing you mentioned, Slayton, was around technology. So most districts have a technology plan. We pulled a group together 6 or so months ago and really approached it as a learning plan supported by technology, which is a different way to think about that conversation. So we presented that to our board, and they have committed to an investment of, we will have some type of tech tool in the hands of all of our high school students by next fall. We haven't decided what that is yet, laptop, tablet, that sort of thing. And then within about 6 months after that, we'll have a piece of technology in the hands of all of our middle schoolers. So what we recognize is that piece of technology is a tool to support different opportunities in learning than might otherwise be able to be done for kids. So we're excited about that move forward. We also have a significant amount of blended learning occurring, especially at the elementary level, where kids have opportunities to interact with a piece of technology and also have direct instruction with teachers. So you guys know the kidney bean table. Is this a concept? So the little table with the teacher and the kids around the table. So opportunities to blend learning so that there's still direct instruction opportunities for kids around that kidney bean table, also supported at their need level by technology. So I think we're in a pretty exciting spot moving forward to get technology in the hands of our kids to enhance their learning experiences.
Other questions?
Hi, My son has the opportunity to go to Roosevelt Creative Corridor Business Academy, and he's really thriving in a project-based learning environment. My question is about plans or potential plans. What is in the works or not in the works for spreading that type of learning environment to the high schools or other schools in the district?
That's a great question. So Roosevelt, RCCBA, was one of our magnet programs, and we have scaled up a little bit in our magnet program. So Johnson STEAM Academy, elementary, Kenwood Leadership Academy, Roosevelt was our first middle school, and then we've onboarded 2 more who will launch next fall, and that is McKinley, which is a focus on STEAM work, and then Taylor, which is really a community-based focus, but also having Taylor River, thank you, Cedar River Academy. So those 5 competencies that we were talking about for the profile of a graduate is really a K-12 focus, not just a high school focus. So very pronounced in those competencies that you're discovering for your son at Roosevelt. So that's one avenue, but I just want to highlight Hoover Elementary for a moment. When we think about innovation and doing school differently, Hoover this year has launched a community school project in which how they are really the hub there on the southwest side, bordering into the northwest side, for our community. And if you were to look at our data, the free and reduced lunch population at Hoover Elementary has significantly changed over the last decade, and we have a high population of families who are new to our country in that area. And so Hoover is responding to the needs of our community and become a community school this year. So they're working with all kinds of agencies to support kids and families from a community perspective. Really cool event, hiring event that happened this week, where 60 adults who are related to the Hoover community got jobs at Nordstrom and some other locations. And so that, although may not be project-based learning, it's another way in which we're thinking about how schools need to think differently to support the whole child. So I think you're aware of Iowa Big, perhaps across the street here. Is what I talk about, a continuum from direct instruction to complete project-based learning. Big is way over here, and that it's completely community-based learning and partnering with our community members on certifying core standards through community projects. I would say Roosevelt is kind of in the middle. It's within the 4 walls, but we bring community members into Roosevelt to certify their learning, all the way to direct instruction classes. So we are looking at the whole continuum to make sure that it's not just all one way or another, but we have to continue to ask the questions about what does that look like, and supporting our teachers. Back to your question about making sure we're supporting our teachers, that could happen in any classroom. You don't have to go to a place or a program to make it happen. It can happen in any classroom. So certainly invite, when you see push-outs from our magnet schools for their community visits, go see what's happening in our schools. And we definitely want to make sure that we continue to scale innovation in any classroom.
Thank you for that question, Leslie. I wonder if one of you, or between the 3 of you who are with the school district, if you would want to talk a little bit more about each of our magnet schools and what those opportunities are.
So I'll start with elementary. We started with Johnson. Johnson's it's actually just completing its 3rd year as a magnet school, which is pretty exciting. And Johnson is titled Johnson STEAM Academy. Science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math is the important piece of what they've called STEAM, Johnson STEAM Academy. And the work that they're doing there is very project-based, but you're still going to see, obviously we have to have some direct instruction around reading or around another content area as kids need those things. But they're infusing through these projects reading as well as math and science and the arts in the big projects that they do. And what Noreen was discussing, we do a STEAM Day at Johnson in the spring, and that provides an opportunity for the community to see some of the projects that they've done. It's an opportunity where you see kids share what they've learned. It isn't teachers showing, it's kids showing, it's kids presenting. It's pretty amazing on the work that they're doing. And then our second elementary is Kenwood Leadership Academy, and they have done a lot of training as staff in Leader in Me, the Covey work, Franklin Covey work, and really they're looking at trying to instill with kids the opportunity that everyone is a leader. Every adult, every student can be a leader, and so the adults in the environment have learned a lot around how do I become a leader, and then how do I instill leadership with the kids that I have. The cool thing about Kenwood that we've seen in the community is they've been out in some of our businesses sharing some of the leadership that they have and sharing around the work that they are doing. They have a Leader Day in the spring as well, another opportunity to come and see what happens in that environment. Noreen also talked a little bit about Taylor. Taylor is going to be the Cedar River Academy at Taylor, and they're really around sustainability. So some STEAM, obviously some continued science, technology, engineering, math activities, but also sustainability. If you think about Taylor, and they sustained through the flood, but also how do we sustain as an environment? They're going to be very connected with the community. They have started doing some small projects around sustainability. Last year we did kind of just a little expo at Taylor. It was so exciting to see the excitement from those kids around what they were learning about themselves to sustain themselves maybe in their wellness or to sustain the environment. There were kids that were talking even about the flood and how to build a flood wall, and it was very interesting to see what they had learned. So those are 3 elementary opportunities that all students in our district have an opportunity to lottery in. If they live in that attendance zone, they can attend there automatically. If they choose not to, we do have what we're calling opt-out schools, which we do transport them to another school if they choose that. We have a few that choose that. Partly because I think families don't understand magnet. I think our magnet is a little different than maybe in some states or even some communities in the country. And so if they've been in a district where there had been a magnet, they tend to be fearful of what that means. And so we try to get them into the school to understand what this is and its experience, and we're still going to work on making sure kids are readers, kids are mathematicians, kids understand science and social studies, but we're going to give them opportunities in a more project-based, very innovative kind of way to provide them experiences that are happening. And then I'm going to just highlight also those that are not considered magnet schools, because we've got a lot of innovative things, like Noreen was saying, happening in our district. Dr. Buck shared a little bit about what's happening at Nixon Elementary with the Blend Ed. That school is really taken on what can we do to provide opportunities with kids with devices or without devices to really personalize their learning. They're really developing their own path individually as young as first grade. It's pretty exciting. They're going to work on it in kindergarten, but again, we're just trying to get right now, how do we line up? But they're working on those things. But that's an exciting piece that's happening. We also have some buildings that are really trying some what I would almost call a blended experience with grade levels. So they're doing some 3-5 combinations or some 2-5 combinations, and that's happening in many buildings in our district, to try to give opportunities for kids to expand their learning. Or if I need a standard that's might be not at my grade level, I have the opportunity to learn that as well as the standards that would be for my grade level. So that there are a lot of innovative things happening. We're really trying to encourage that and provide opportunities for any of our buildings that want to explore some different ways of thinking. It's really around what is going to be best for our kids and how are they going to learn. So do you want to talk about middle school? Or?
So highlighted Roosevelt a little bit, and then McKinley is in the planning stages for their focus on STEM as well. And so science, technology, engineering, math certainly is the focus, but McKinley is also trying to restructure currently more interdisciplinary approaches, and that means how is English married to social studies, how is math married to science, or taking those 4 content areas together and rallying around more of a project-based learning approach as well. And they're really also focused on the social emotional pieces of every single child. And so making sure that they have opportunities for students. I was a middle school principal. Brad and I talk about we're still maybe middle school-esque in our own behavior, but it is a sweet spot. I absolutely love it because kids are gaining independence and they're figuring out who they are, but it's also a really hard time. especially if you're not quite sure who you are. And so making sure that we are giving them all sorts of opportunities for discovery and support. So McKinley's really focused on the social emotional development of children, as well as planning for those STEM and project-based learning experiences. Jefferson's blended program, it's in its 5th year. Our data is telling us kids want that opportunity, much like what you highlighted at Nixon Elementary. It's kids are moving at their own pace and time with direct instruction. They have access to laptops, and they're there for about 3 or 4 periods a day, focused on some core content areas, and we have a team of about 6 to 8 teachers, depending on the semester, supporting kind of a school within a school. If you have more questions about that, Lori Bateman is right here, assistant principal from Jefferson, and could really highlight that program. Kids are telling it's a freshman and sophomore opportunity, and they would like to continue that opportunity even into their junior and senior year, and finding that it's a good fit for them. College experiences are telling us now that the kids who are graduating this year, I have a high school senior this year, his class of 2019 will have more than likely 20% or more of their classes online in college, or preparing for the work world. So we need to prepare our kids to learn how to learn in that environment too.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we're going to take the last 10 minutes after I share this with you. So these are on the tables, these little postcard-sized flyers are on the tables. One side is just a reminder about the community coffee and conversations that are going to be happening monthly. One of the things that is important to me as communications director is really getting the Cedar Rapids Community School District engaged and involved in the community in a variety of ways, and these events are one way for us to do that. Opportunity for us to connect with the community and share with you what we're up to, but then also an opportunity for community members to come to the table and have conversations with us, ask important questions. We're here to answer them as best we can, and if somebody in the room can't necessarily answer that specific question, we're going to get you that answer by the end of the day. So creating opportunities for community in the Cedar Rapids School District to engage with one another is something that we're certainly working on. And on the other side of these postcard-sized flyers is information about the inaugural event that we have coming up called Schooled. Schooled is a new series of sort of TED Talk style talks. And so each month we'll have an event like this where we're pulling experts from the school district onto the stage, and they will be sharing really interesting, inspiring stories and speeches about the work that they do. So spread the word on that. And with that, I will say that we have the last 10 minutes or so to grab another cup of coffee, and then certainly feel free to engage one-on-one with any of our educators on the panel, and also Captain Essling. Thank you again, Captain Essling. You were just doing Coffee with Cops earlier this week.
A lot of coffee opportunities lately.
Have coffee with the cops. So thank you all for joining us, and please feel free to have one-on-one conversations with those who are here.